Good day. Welcome to the Conversation podcast, at which we discuss matters of national importance, pertinent, burning issues in the nation. Today I'm privileged to have the president herself of NDC, Madam Saboi Imboela. How have you been?
I've been very okay, Ambassador. How are you?
Happy New Year.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you too.
No, thank you very much. No, welcome to the Conversation podcast.
Thank you.
We discuss national issues, but in a relaxed way.
Okay.
We want to have a conversation, just like we're at home, discussing what is affecting our country.
Okay.
I think we have one of the worst cholera outbreak since 1991, looking at the number of lives that it has claimed, over 290 lives in such a short period. I think government hasn't handled this matter very well. We had an outbreak in October.
Yeah.
There was no consistency in approach. The ministers have been on holiday while the issue was burning and lives were being lost. What are your reflections over this cholera outbreak?
Well, just from the time it started, I think it was very shocking to see the laissez-faire kind of attitude that government was showing towards this. From October, we kept on saying cholera is here. And first of all, there were those issues of denying. So there were a bit of lies and propaganda to show as if nothing was happening. So they tried so much to cover so many things. But, you know, an issue of cholera, you can't hide it because it's the same people that you're supposed to protect. So from there also, we saw from October until now, people are going for holidays, you know, people are relaxing. They're sharing selfies instead of being here in Lusaka, convening agent cabinet meetings, you know. So the relaxation, the lack of seriousness, I think it says a lot with how many other issues they just handle like this, you know. And with cholera, like you have rightly said, Ambassador, we have not seen an outbreak as serious as this one is, you know. And even that, they're trying so much to cover that up. And for me also, even the numbers that we are seeing, trust me, there should be more numbers. That is why they don't really want people to really go there and see what is going on, you know. And for me also, one thing that hurt me, if I should use that word, is the issue of not allowing people to clean, you know. Cholera should not be politicized, you know. So if anybody comes up and says, we want to clean, they should allow them, you know. But we see a situation whereby the peer, for example, they said they wanted to clean, they were denied. And then later on, the mayor said, go ahead and clean. And then a deputy mayor, something we have never seen before.
Yeah, true. You know, on the issue of deputy mayor and mayor, first of all, the mayor is elected. For example, the Lusaka mayor, worship, you know, Chitangala, was elected by voting population of 7 constituencies in hundreds of thousands. And the deputy mayor is only elected by 31 councillors for Lusaka. And in fact, her mandate has expired. To see a deputy mayor overrule the mayor, I think demonstrates the chaos that is not just in this government, but also in the UPND.
Exactly. Very shocking, really. And we've never seen that before. You know, so the audacity of a junior officer to overrule the decision of a higher officer who's an executive mayor as compared to her, like you have said, only elected by a few councillors, is very, very shocking. But also shows you the amount of politicization of this issue and many other issues. So issues of cleanliness, really. When a political party comes up and says we want to clean, they should actually even go out there and say, this party has offered to do this. All you political parties out there, we urge you to do the same. You know, that way we would have been seeing a situation whereby this party goes to clean this day or this side and that side. Next thing you see churches, everybody should have been engaged. But with that, just a response of what they did, I think it has a scale.
No, you are right. The fight against cholera must be multi-sectoral. Meaning there's an interministerial committee, you know, local government, DMMU, Ministry of Health, and others. It's also multi-stakeholder. Like you are saying, churches can be mobilized to clean either in their areas or in CBD or wherever. Stakeholders like ourselves, political parties, we can be given a day in which to participate. And but with this government, you know, we've seen Honorable Sylvia Masebo running around alone. Can you imagine? And I think either she doesn't know what to do, she doesn't know about the fight against cholera. You know, Zambia is very privileged In 2018, just to help with the discussion, in 2018, the Zambian government moved a motion at the United Nations General Assembly for Health to end cholera by 2030. And the world adopted that motion. When Zambia, Dr. Chitaluchilufi and his team came back, they devised a strategy to end cholera by 2025. A document then was submitted for approval to cabinet and then actioned out. But the words that are very clear there, multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder, involve everyone. Then heavy on prevention. Like rain season, you are supposed to declog all drainages, ensure that there's free cleaning water. So I think we haven't seen the scientific approach. And Mayoba Wasuvia Masevo running around just has demonstrated the chaos. When you saw the pictures of the National Cholera Health Center at Hero Stadium, what came to your mind?
Well, it's very, very sad that lives can be lost with such what I would call a senseless death, because so many years after independence and after having had so many cholera outbreaks, we should not be suffering these outbreaks, We should know what to do by now, we should know what to do. And for me also, apart from the pictures at the cholera center, seeing people sleeping on the floor, for example, they don't really have a much, just the numbers of people. Apart from that picture, the picture of the president, when he finally came to Lusaka and went to more or less start cleaning and everything, really worried me. And I'm thinking that, does the president know what cholera is? Because number one, if you look at the pictures of the president, he's wearing a mask and gloves.
First, he's wearing a hard hat. And then that's for construction. It's not for a cholera center. Then cholera is not airborne.
It's not airborne.
Why are you wearing the mask?
Exactly.
It's waterborne by contact.
So he left, exactly. So he left his hands bare. Even when he's firing people, he wears gloves. But he goes there to clean and his hands were bare. And he's wearing a mask. And I'm thinking, has he gone for a COVID prevention, something? So for me, all those pictures just make me really wonder, what UPND and the president understand about cholera. And if they really know what cholera is.
There's an iconic picture, I don't know who's taken it, and they should be awarded, where you are seeing those makeshift plank beds. And you are seeing the drip stand. They're also made of wood.
Yes, okay, I saw that one.
And the bucket. And I think the journalist who asked the president was traumatized. First, there's no running water there. And he asked the president, Mr. President, why is there no running water here? The president answered that you, the opposition, are actually witches and mambas. First of all, the two questions are not related.
Exactly.
The journalist is demonstrating concern that the cholera center, we should be resolved by issues of water and sanitation and water. As no water. And he says, Mr. President, this is contributing to the loss of lives. The president says, Imboela and Saboi, you are black mambas and witches. Can you acquit yourself, you witches and black mambas?
Ambassador, I listened to that audio several times, and I thought maybe there was a disconnect. What the journalist said and what the president answered, like maybe there was something that happened, only to realize that no, it was one and the same conversation. So the president, to me, like I've said, I don't think he knows what cholera is. So I think we need to sensitize him on cholera, what it is, how it's transmitted,
why does he have
such
a view against the opposition? It doesn't treat you as stakeholders. It doesn't treat us as co-workers in national service.
I really wonder, this just starts from the way he engages with the opposition. I remember during the time of the PF, for example, even when there were days, when you had to commemorate important days, like let's say Women's Day, Youth Day and everything, the PF would invite everyone using what is this, cabinet office, that events office and everything.
Yes.
So all
State
cards,
functions department.
Exactly, yes. So all cards of all opposition political parties in Zambia would be taken there, and then cabinet calls you. So the over 50, over 60 registered political parties, everybody would be invited. Depending on the function, there will only be one card or two cards per political party. It was a common practice like that. From the time the UPND formed government, first of all, they choose who to invite for a particular function. So if maybe there are 4 or 5 political parties they've invited, exactly. So They never wanted to interact with anyone when they were in opposition. And now that they're in government, they still don't want to interact with people. Let them refuse. Okay? Let the political parties refuse on their own. The way they used to do, you know, themselves would always refuse to say, we don't want to commemorate.
But the invitation came.
The invitations were always there. Yes, the invitations were always there. And one person that one time actually was responsible for what, organizing?
Coordinating.
Yeah, organizing and coordinating one of the women days, you know, women's day functions for the UPND. By then, they had already made an announcement to say we will not participate. And I remember the first person I called was Chipo Mwanawasa. I was like, as usual, listen to what the party has said. No, we can't go ahead with this. I met up with Chipo Mwanawasa, then we called Silver Masebo. Because I was organizing women who I know, these are the women they can talk to who won't fear to say anything. We went to see Honorable Sylvia Masebo at her house. I said, Madam, listen to what the party has said. We can't again do this. We need to organize this. And we made sure we organized Women's Day. And participated, yes. So that was, I think, the whole more than 10, 16 years I was in the UPND, that was the only time that we participated in Women's Day.
In any national day or activity?
By the way, in any national activity, because it was always like, you know, they would refuse. And I remember that time the party had already announced. From there, I went to see Honorable Karen Kombo. We had to go see the president himself at Community House. We're like, sir, we need to participate in this. That was in 2015. And I remember by then, we had lost, as UPND at the time, we had lost the elections for 2015. And then I was saying, exactly.
The January 2015
so I was saying, sir,
election.
we lost elections in January. This is March 8th, you know. So we need to show people that the UPND is still there on the ground and it still exists. So let's match 1,000.
Too.
Exactly, yes. So let's match 1,000 women. And we did just that. You know, so for me, like I've said, being a member of the UPND at the time, that was the only time we participated, you know. And when they saw the impact, I remember 4 days later, because Youth Day comes 4 days later after Women's Day, they actually did participate in that. So now they were like,
the youths also participated.
Exactly, yes. Having seen that, you know, so UPND was a party which always said they don't want to participate. And most times we didn't ask them to say, why are we not participating? And they'll say, SATA also never used to participate.
That can be an answer. There should be a policy position by the party.
Yes, yes. And which was actually never true because SATA himself, and I remember President Siki at the time even advising the UPND, he said, oh, President SATA would sometimes not go and he would not participate, but the party as PF would participate. So this answer of always saying we can't participate because of this really is not, it doesn't hold water. So to cut the long story short, Ambassador, the UPND has never been good with interacting with other political parties. The time they're in opposition and even now, you know, that is why even as an alliance partner, they would get political parties on board, but along the way they would fall off because it's always about them and nobody else.
The health sector, in fact, the cholera outbreak has exposed the health sector. There was an issue of setting up infectious diseases hospitals, I think about 7 of them, and an amount of $100 million was set up. Of course, that was lost in the corruption and the allegations that came up. I think the cholera outbreak has exposed this government and the lack of seriousness in relation to the health sector. What are your views about the health sector? These complaints about lack of medicines, lack of medical equipment, laboratories are not working, there are no diagnostic equipment, people have to buy their own medicine. But the president keeps on saying there are medicines. The Minister of Health says everything is okay in the health sector. What are your views? What have you heard from your members and from members of the citizens?
Yeah, you know, it's a disaster. You know, the Minister of Health, you know, from the time the UPND formed government, I think it keeps on going from west to west, you know. And at some point, I think I was one of those people, even in terms of the minister I would defend, you know, seeing a woman in such a high position and everything, and the person that I relate to at a personal level very well, I would really defend the minister and the ministry to say, let's give her time, you know, but I don't know, because at some point I also felt, it was my personal decision, I felt like the UPND were fighting Honorable Silva Masebo, okay? And that is why we saw even all those scandals in the papers. So for me, I took it like they were not scared, you know, to destroy the health sector by fighting this woman, okay? So no wonder at first I would say, you know, where are all these things coming out from, you know, in terms of the scandals and everything?
A woman?
Exactly, you know, so I would question myself. If you look at even her being given a wrong speech at that time, I was like, where are all these things coming from, you know? But for me, I've reached a point whereby I'm thinking, if they don't want her there, they might as well remove her from there. Let them give her another ministry, another ministry, and put somebody they want at the Ministry of Health. Because the scandals
Do you
going
feel
on there,
she's being sabotaged? Or she's incompetent? Yes. What are your reflections?
I'll be very honest with you. Honorable Sylvia Masebo is one of the most hardworking members of the UPND, that I can tell you.
And she's previously a Minister of Health.
Yes, exactly. She's one of the most competent people I know in the UPND. Very hardworking, very hands-on, but she has just failed to tick at the ministry. So the issue of sabotage, I strongly believe that, okay? The issues of incompetence, that I don't know. You get the point? So is it the competence also adding to that, or it's the issue of sabotage? I really don't know. But one thing that I can see from afar is the issue of sabotage. She's really being fought, that's a fact. She's a person that is highly being fought within the UPND, you know? So if they don't want her at that ministry, let them remove her. Even as women, we are saying this thing where we always stand up and say, no, leave her, she's a woman. I mean, they can't keep on risking the lives of Zambians like this, you know, because enough is enough, really. You know, there are so many other ministries that she can do a very good job at. She can go maybe, let's say, to local government, where Honorable Nkombo is messing up, who is, you know...
Is your brother and neighbor Nkombo messing up?
Another hard-working minister, another one I get along with very well.
Yeah.
But local government, I just don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
The other time
and for example, they are totally absent from this fight. This fight of cholera, local government is supposed to be leading the fight with Ministry of Health. The three frontline officers are DMMU, local government, especially that the cholera outbreak is countrywide. So you need local government fully activated. And then, of course, Ministry of Health for its competencies.
Oh, yeah. No, we do need that.
And we have seen Honorable Gary Nkombo totally absent. I saw one single statement the other day, but he's absent. The local authorities are totally absent. You can't see their supervisor in Honorable Gary Nkombo. Maybe it reflects the state of cabinet, where people wait for the president to give instructions, to give directives, and maybe they are threatened or they can't take a risk because they feel that the president, you know, might come and embarrass them or blast them. Or do you find the president who's micromanaging a cabinet? And you'll have few ones who are brave like Sylvia Masebo, who would even, you know, then begin to work alone.
Yes. Yeah, the president definitely has been micromanaging all ministries, you know, that's a fact. I remember somebody the other time was telling me to say, even when you write your programs at a ministry level, you have to go present them, you know, at State House, you know, things like that. So from the very onset, the president is involved. So meaning that even when you fail, it's him that has failed. You get the point, yes. So the president has to allow people to plan and allow them to fail. You know, so that even when they fail, he's able to make a certain decision.
So what he does is supervisory function.
Exactly. But he's too involved. So the micromanagement really is not working well. I remember there's a time when I wrote an article on Facebook where I wrote to say the president is really micromanaging people, and I wrote how people were scared of him in the opposition, and right now it's worse, because even in the opposition, I would say...
In the opposition, you are a member of the UPND. People were afraid of the president.
They were so afraid of the president, yes, that's a fact. They were so afraid. There were very few people like myself that were not afraid. No wonder even when I said the Women's Day thing, you know, after they said whatever, I had to call Chipo Manawas, I called Sylvia Masebo, because I knew that these women, at least we can go and talk to him. Afterwards, even when we went to see him, I remember one of the people that we got along at the time was Mrs. Zulu, who's the current DC for Lusaka. So I went to see him. And what would happen in the UPND, you go see the president and everybody freezes. So instead of telling him what you need to say, he
begins to lecture to you. Which we hear that
for 2 hours.
Literally happens even in cabinet meetings.
That's what it does even in cabinet, yes.
Yeah, he's the only voice and people are just listening to him.
He's the only voice, yes. So you go see him and he's talking for 2 hours, and if you're not careful, you leave. The meeting will end without you having said anything.
Why you even went there.
Exactly, yes. So I remember we went to a community house and he was talking. For me, I'd always wait until he puts a full stop. When he puts a full stop, I come in. I'm like, sir, yes, what you have said, ABCD, we agree with you, but, you know, I remember one of the things that he never believed in was the issues of chitenges. No, we can't do chitenges. When we form government, we're going to build roads and hospitals and everything, so we can't do chitenges. So I'm like, but sir, first of all, those women's then we need too much. How are we going to form government if we don't do chitenges? Because first and foremost, you have to play the game. You know, give people what they want, and then when you form government, you do what you want in terms of programs and everything. So we spoke and, okay, yes. And I remember when you talk, you'd actually listen, okay? So every time we'd leave, I remember Mrs. Zulu herself, the current DC, would always say, you know what, every time we go see the president, Saboi should always be there.
Because they recognize your quality to stand up to him and bring the agenda to be participatory.
Exactly, yes. Honorable Masewa would always say, Saboi, speak to your husband. So, you know, so there would always be all those tactics and everything. But one thing I realize is that sometimes people are just so scared of him. So even when you can actually tell the president to say, sir, this and that, they would keep quiet. So people like myself, I would wait for the right time. He puts his full stop there, and then you come in and you say what it is that you need to say. So when I wrote my article, for example, to say people are so scared of him in the opposition, and I'd always say, imagine him with the instruments of power. What are they going to do? You know, and that's exactly what has happened. Yes. So now with the instruments of power, people are very scared of him.
In fact, coming to that, you know, a lot of people have complained about, you know, some of us just call him a dictator because we want his will to prevail. But obviously, there's a one-track-minded approach to many things. His way or no way at all. Could this contribute to the current failures? I think there's a lot of disappointment by Zambians that, number one, he was very high-sounding, very knowledgeable in opposition. He provided alternative solutions and proposed policy changes. So now he's been president for 2.5 years. And the country is literally collapsing apart. Look at the health sector, the economic sector, social sector. All sectors are failing. The economy is very bad. We are experiencing one of the worst, highest cost of living. What could be the problem? What is your reflection on that?
Again, I'll be very honest with you. UPND, apart from President HH offering all those solutions, UPND had a very good media in the opposition. Okay, I was part of that media, so I know what used to happen. Most of the statements, the president would not even know that statement had gone out. Okay, so we sat and would write and would research and everything, and you're putting things out there. You know, so there was an aspect of that. Then an aspect also of things that he himself was passionate about, research, and would talk, you know, issues to do with the economy, agriculture, and various other issues, you know. And like I said, a lot of other issues, again, you'd write down, you do your policy briefs and everything, and you give to the president. So the media of the UPND was actually very good. Because every day you'd wake up, you would read the papers as part of the media, and you see all the topical issues that are being discussed and everything, and you respond according to that. You know, I remember myself and Hamasaga, one of those two people that would write statements for the president, and would write, and sometimes we don't even know that the statements are out there. You get the point, huh? So other people, you know, Dr. Monanyanda, who's now at State House, you know, a good number of people would come and write all these policy briefs, be it on gender, be it on health, education. You did your research, you know. And then also, you know, there were now other guerrilla media that came in now, like
the rogue media.
The rogue media, the watchdog and everything. Now they were doing all those propaganda stuff of theirs. So he was really covered by a set of people. An effective media, yes. So that was a part of it. And then, having been in opposition for a very long time, he had his issues, you know. I think he planned more for the opposition than even planned for governance, yes. So we saw that even when he won, the man was basically not prepared. You know, look at his cabinet, for example. He kept on making promises. I'm delaying because of the kind of people that I'm going to choose. Just wait for the cabinet. And then we waited. And then boom. And then we're like, what?
Is this the reason we waited? For that one, for this one?
For this one? No. You can do better than this, you know? And then we waited. Okay, ambassadors, what? And then we're like, okay, I think these guys just don't have enough human resource, you know? They just didn't have a plan and stuff like that. So for me, basically, that was really the biggest problem. The lack of planning. Where you plan so much for B, and then A happens, and you're shocked. Yes.
Yeah. And why is the country in this state? We are in various crises.
The country is in this state because the president doesn't want to listen, you know. He doesn't want to listen, and also he's not learning. You know, I think statecraft is about learning. You know, you offer yourself as a president, you know, people vote for you, and then you have to learn just from the system point of view. they have to teach you certain things. The president to me appears like he's unteachable, you know. That is why I always give an example of his salute, just the simple thing of a salute. As Zambians, we salute like this. British, he salutes like this. American, like John Cena.
Yes.
I'm sure he loves wrestling so much. Every time, like, President, please.
You know,
the issue just, you remember just the whole thing of the instruments of power, when it was getting the instruments of power, and
where the bodyguard from Beijing should have never been near those historical pictures.
Exactly.
It should have just been between the two.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Coming to issues of governance, you've been at the brunt of the poor governance of the UPND. You have been frequently been arrested. You know, you are in court for things you shouldn't be in court, in my view. There's an attempt on your party and to disenfranchise you and take that party away from you. Now, this is at the backdrop of what this government is doing. They don't want the opposition to have political rallies. I think there hasn't been any public political rally since August 2021. The law enforcement agencies, especially the police, have been weaponized against the opposition. For people in the Patriotic Front, you know, they've been arraigned and arrested. You have been arraigned and arrested. And now there's an attempt to steal the entire political party. So before you give comments to the issues happening in the governance space, maybe tell us your experience and these attempts where they want to remove you from your party.
And if you look at what the UPND is doing yet again, it all starts from the opposition. You remember they were in an alliance with about 13 political parties. By the time that they were going to elections, out of all those 13, I think they only remained with 1 or 2. You know, they had to bring in, I think, 2 more, which were new. The reasons why most of us left the UPND alliance was that they wanted to destroy us as political parties even before we formed government, you know? So one of the things that they were suggesting, number one, was the issue of the name, UPND Alliance.
How can it be?
How can it be, yes, you know? You're in an alliance with who, you know? So there was an issue of that. Then there was an issue of everybody who stands has to stand on the UPND ticket. You know, because if you're going to be in an alliance, other people can stand, let's say, on NDC this side, other people stand on
MDC.
You get yes. So by the time you go to parliament, you are really a reflection of the alliances, of the political parties that form the alliance. But for them, it was everybody has to be on this political party. So they started killing off that. Issues of running mate, by then, the discussion before then, it was running mate should be CK, because by then NDC was the second biggest party on the alliance. Then they stopped and they started saying, no, you know what, they changed their minds rather. They were saying the running mate should be Mutari na Lumango. So we are thinking, how can you be an alliance and have number one and number two
from the same political party?
The same political party, you get the point, yes. So they have never ever been interested in democracy, you know, so their issue was to kill off our political parties. So when we formed government, they did intensify that, you know, so they put in a lot of money to have all these people go onto the media to say all sorts of things and grab the party. And people don't even know actually the extent of the fight for our political parties. I can even say the fight for the soul of the NDC. Because that's the issue of the annual returns. They gave us such problems just to fight in our annual returns. You know, political parties
and this is just
can have
renewal. This is supposed to be just renewal.
Yes. The NDC was formed in 2017, and we fight in our annual returns every year. But when they formed government, it became a problem. And we're telling them to say, okay, where is this coming from, you know? But we had to fight for that. And we're now filing in, and now there's no issue with that. To the point whereby I had to report the Register of Societies and the PS, one of the PS Home Affairs, to the anti-corruption. So when we did that now, that's when they laid off.
Speak to that. Yes. Speak to that. Why did you report the Permanent Secretary and the Registrar of Societies to the SEC?
Exactly. Because one of the Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Kafumba, of course, was our Vice President in the NDC and one of the parties to the conflict of the NDC. So even the time that he was appointed to the Ministry of Home Affairs, we knew to say, okay, this man
will be trouble.
Exactly has been put in for all these things. And he really did his best, or rather the ministry really did their best to cause all that confusion. So for them, they knew, because even the officers there, they knew to say, okay, this person being a man of this position, we have to do maybe what he tells us. I don't want to tell us. Exactly. So they didn't care about the law, you know. And at some point, they went as far as there was this administrative secretary that would use to file in the returns and everything. They went to an extent of getting that person, and they ran away with certain files.
My God.
You know, yes. But by then, what I'd done, because of having that experience, what I'd done was that every time he would do whatever it is for the part, I'd always tell him to give me copies.
To keep records, yes.
So I had a lot of records for almost everything. So even the time he ran away with whatever, I had my own records. Then a few things that he ran away with, we went to the police and said, we are missing documents because somebody ran away with the documents. Just to report, Ambassador, that thing. A lot of calls. You know, you walk into a police station and they're making calls. We arrived at the police station at 9 hours. They had to attend to us at 14 hours. And by then I just told them to say, I'm not leaving until you attend to me. Our documents were lost and I've come to report. What is the matter with that? You know, you just have to give me a missing documents report. That's all. And that's all I wanted. The CIO, they were 7 of the highest policemen now at Chilenge Police had to come in this room and they were discussing. I said something, oh, give us a minute. I leave there making calls. I was like, what is going on? But I just thought, I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not going to report at any other police station. I have come here. So give me what I want. And they ended up doing that. Went to register of societies and everything. And we said, whether you like it or not, we're going to file in our returns. And when I saw that they kept on doing whatever it is that they were doing, and that was like the last day, I had to call out the minister himself, because I was like, okay, if we're filing at PS level, let me go to the minister. I called the minister, went to see him, you know. And at that time, by the way, Ambassador, they had even changed the list of the office bearers for the NDC. Without
illegally?
Illegally, yes.
Wow.
And that's even the reason why I reported to corruption. So I went to see the minister called the other PS. So we had another meeting now with the other PS, and then they were telling me to say, actually, the person in charge of political parties is the other PS and not the other one. So we sat now, he called the Register of Societies, and he brought in the NDC file from 2017 till last year, 2023, page by page, page by page. By then, one volume was even missing. So the minister was like, the PS, where's the other volume? They had to go fish out the other volume, brought it back, you know, page by page. And then I was like, so if you look from here to there, at what point did this change? So now that's when they came in to say, no, so they brought it out, so they changed it back. When we were having that meeting, they changed back the list of office bearers.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And they claimed that was a system failure. You know, it was a system failure, and one of the names changed. I was like, how did the system fail? And, you know, because what had happened in the NDC was that from the original 10 that registered the party, the time Mr. Kafumba was our vice president and Mrs. Atanga, our SG, we had the central committee and we suggested to say, let's remove these two. There's a woman called Mrs. Maleta and Kingston who we removed as office bearers and replaced them with the two. But when the so-called system failed and changed the list, Mr. Kafumba found himself on the list, but Mrs. Atanga was not there. And I was telling them to say, it could have been okay if these two were both not there or these two were both there. So the fact that there's one person and not the other one, it means that you already changed it. And Mr. Kafumba is a civil servant. What is he doing here? So based on that meeting and everything that was brought out, at least they changed back the list. So those are the fights that I've had to fight. You know,
you are a personal reflection of what is going on, you know, against the opposition. If you look at Kabushi and Kwacha, Honorable Joseph Malanji and Honorable Bowman Lusambo were eligible to contest. The ECZ came up with a legal opinion, and if they were a court of law, and said the two had caused the by-elections and therefore they will not be allowed to file. It was totally illegal. But ECZ proceeded to do that, proceeded to disenfranchise them. And we are glad that there is, you know, a court ruling from the Concord that demonstrated that the actions by ECZ were illegal. But you and I know that the fight over the Patriotic Front has nothing to do with ECZ. It's a directives and directions from State House. Like what they are doing to you and to your party. Mr. Joseph Sakafumba, and we need to name him as permanent secretary, he should have declared interest.
Very true.
Because he was your vice president. And then, you know, he's allowing these individuals to masquerade as NDC leaders, even when matters are in court. And he sits at a very sensitive ministry. What should the opposition do to fight off this?
The opposition should actually stick together, and the opposition should not allow the UPND to do what they're doing. I've been telling people to say, we have had to fight so many battles as NDC, you know, and NDC is a smaller party with fewer membership. We've never been in government, but we've had to fight to actually be where we are today. So I tell people to say a political party like the PF, for example, which has been in government, it has a larger membership, it has they should not even allow. Because, you know, for me, one of the things that I've actually done was actually to ignore the other guys who, you know, I call them the rebels. I've had to ignore the rebels with whatever it is that they are doing. So I've been telling the PF to say, ignore the rebel that the UPND has brought into the party.
On you.
Operate as if it does not even exist, you know. There are things, of course, when it comes to parliament, when he wants to do certain things, which you have no choice but to go to court and handle certain things, but operate as if it does not even exist. Because I've been hearing people, some people saying, no, they need to register another party and everything. No, don't. You know, don't do all those things. Fight for the PF.
With the fight where you know you are fighting government, why didn't you register another political party? What's the wisdom?
I wouldn't certainly do that. I wouldn't register another party because, you know, it takes a long time to have an impact, you know, on the public. It takes a long time to have a party, you know, be a party. NDC, like I said, was registered in 2017, and a good number of us said, you know what, we're going to join this small party.
Yeah, and we're going to grow it.
And we're going to grow it, yes. I remember when I was living in the UP, and NDC was only 4 months old. You know, and I said, I want to be part of building a new political party. So if you look at the constitution of the NDC, for example, the manifesto, a good number of us are part of the people that did that. Because that's when we joined, we're like, no, this constitution is not good enough. So we sat, Mr. Kafumba, funny enough, Mr. Kafumba and I were amongst the people that were in the forefront of changing the NDC constitution. You know, the manifesto we sat, because NDC had engaged experts at UNZA and everything, and we said, no, you don't need experts, we can do it ourselves.
We know, we're politicians, we know what we want.
Yes. Experts sometimes can do their copy and paste, but us, of course, we have the expertise from the other side, and members of the party, we have the heart of the NDC. So we sat and we came up with very good documents of the party, you know. And funny enough, again, Mr. Kafumba, one of the things which he went to court for, he claimed that NDC does not have a constitution, which was part of reviewing himself, you know. So forming another political party, really, it's neither here nor there, because it takes a lot of things. And where the NDC is, by the way, because politics is not only about participating in elections, coming on TV and radio and everything. There's an issue also of recognition, both by the public and international organizations. And NDC, having grown so fast, we used to call ourselves as the baby born with teeth, you know, like we're the fastest growing party at that time. So just international organizations, and I remember myself being the chairperson of Gender at the time, and having worked with a lot of NGOs. There were many parties that were formed before NDC, but because of the works we were doing, we were now attached to many of these political parties, okay, and organizations. So if you look at an organization, let's say the Women's Lobby, there's this platform they have. NDC was the only new party which was put on the platform. We worked with organizations like Women and Law in Southern Africa, you know, the IRI, Institute of Republicans, you know, they came in and everything. Okay, by then we even had the Member of Parliament. So we were recognized in a very short period of time. And once you brought onto these various platforms of local and international organizations, when you sit there permanently. So meaning if we were to register another political party, we need to start the work all over again, you know, by the time you reach that recognition. Yeah, there are many parties, like I've said, that were formed before NDC that are even now getting stronger now, or they are strong now, but they're not even a member of all those organizations that I've talked about. So a new party would mean going, I don't know how many years. And
in fact, I've always stated that if a thief comes to your house and steals a TV, and you hear him even watch the TV and celebrate when people score, do you buy a new TV, or you go to the police and ensure that your TV is returned?
Go to the police,
you cannot legitimize theft just because you can buy a new TV. So I think forming a political party, decamping, for example, from the Patriotic Front, would be giving legitimacy to the thieves who have come to steal your party. And you'll have created precedent that a ruling party can walk in, you know, storm your political party and steal it from you and legitimize it. It is clear. Some have said President Hakainde Hichilema is using the blueprint of Rwanda, where, you know, opposition is harassed, and there is literally a de facto one-party state. And President Hakainde Hichilema seems to be moving into that direction. If we go to elections now, where you put the PF in disarray, you know, which is supposed to be the largest opposition, it will literally be a de facto political party. And also, because of his failures, his promises, his electoral campaign promises, and his failure to attend the economy, I think he's fearing 2026. So he wants you all weekend. Maybe badi monatio Saboi munabo sana wa PF. The PF could try mina pari Saboi. That's why they've come with a hammer on you. So your reflections on just this, you know, just general attack on democracy and attempt to make Zambia a one-party state.
Yeah. That, first of all, cannot happen and should not happen. And for me, this is advice I normally give privately, but today I'll give it publicly, but I won't get into details, okay? Number one, people always say that even in terms of the opposition, they're saying, the opposition needs to organize. Where is that one person? Because they used in the past would have maybe the one main opposition, okay? They would have a SATA, they would have an HH. So they were saying, no, the opposition is like whatever. So I've been telling them to say, dynamics change over time. Yeah. If you look at a lot of countries in this world today, Germany inclusive, which is a European country, you can't, no one party can win elections. Alone, they can't, no. No wonder they have this grand coalition of Germany. You know, we saw it also in Kenya, where you even had collisions of collisions, you know? Yeah, so many parties are forming all these alliances and everything. Malawi also, even Zambia itself, if you look at 2021.
We may be moving there.
Yeah, so we are moving there as Zambia to a point whereby it's very difficult right now for any one political party to form government. And also, having one person and take to the public and say, this is a person we're fielding as opposition in 2026, it will be very risky. Because this autocratic government will go after that person, you know. So it should be strategic not to even make them know to say, this is the person that we want. You know, so the opposition should come together. And when you have, for example, a group of opposition political parties, let's say 10, maybe they come after PF, they bring their so-called Mausamp. They come after NDC, they bring whoever they want to bring. If you have 10 political parties and they hammer, let's say 4 or 5, they won't manage to hammer all 10. You get the point? And even if they were to manage to hammer all 10, you can still call another party, because Zambia's got over 60 registered political parties. Yes, you can bring somebody and you stand on a party. But as you do all those things, you sell out an alliance name. So come 2024, by now there should be an alliance name that we should be selling. Okay. Yes, so that alliance name, because under a normal government, you can even register an alliance name, you know. But whether the alliance name will be registered or not, if the UPND is going to play their politics within that alliance, if we sell an alliance name, it does not matter whose party will be hit or not. By 2026, we can stand on any political party. So it can even be the smallest party on the alliance. You can even get 3 or 4 and you stand on there. But with that also, you hold on to the PF. Because even people know. They can bring in all sorts of people and say, this is the PF. People always know where certain faces are to say, this is a real PF. So let them do whatever it is that they want to do. And like I have said, I have a detailed plan of this in my head.
Thank
which
you.
I can't
begin
share
to sell
publicly.
It. Not general sales or speak strategies to the members of the public.
Exactly,
As political parties led by women, you held a meeting, a press conference, at which you criticized the actions of NGOCC.
Yes.
This is after the Speaker of the National Assembly had recognized and made changes against the leadership of the opposition. She removed Honorable Brian Munduvila as leader of the opposition and Stephen Kampiongo as chief whip, and imposed them with these 2 names from Mr. Mausampa, who the entire country knew had held an illegal meeting.
Exactly.
Who the entire country knew was that the PF hadn't gone to conference. The entire country knew Mausampa was not PF president. So the Speaker was roundly condemned for that action. First, it was unconstitutional. 2, office bearers had not changed at the Registrar of Societies. Thirdly, I think she should have allowed for matters to conclude in courts of law before she could effect changes. So then we saw NGOCC rise and say, you rise against one woman, you rise against all of us.
Imagine.
And you women political parties, you Honorable Shalakateka, Honorable Edith Nawakwi and others held a press conference to tell off NGOCC. In fact, you went to the extent of calling that cooperating partners should not fund them. Why such a strong stance?
That strong stance was because a lot of things have been going on, you know, against women in the country, and NGOCC had been very quiet on all the issues, you know. And also we felt that anybody that is interested in the governance of this country can see that what is going on at Parliament is very unconstitutional and not right. There is no one who can support what is going on at Parliament. So for NGOCC to have stood up and gone to Parliament and did what they did, we just said, you know what, this we're not going to allow. And there are certain things which happen whereby you don't even have to wait for somebody to do another mistake in relation to that. We said the mistake or the action of the NGOCC is too grave, you know, to let go like that. So no wonder we convened. We just said, you know what, let's come together and make a strong statement. And we did that. And after that meeting, by the way, the NGOCC called us to have a meeting with them, you know, but we told them to say the manner in which they called us was not okay, because they called for a meeting and they called everybody else. So we said, no, as presidents, we're going to have another meeting on our own, you know, and then afterwards, so we allowed our SGs just to go there and go hear what they wanted to say. But as presidents, all three of us did not go there. And they apologized, you know. They apologized. They said what they did was wrong, they didn't know, blah, blah, blah.
Why haven't they apologized publicly?
Exactly.
Because we're not aware.
Can you imagine that? Yes. So those are the issues that also we have been telling them and our members to say, we need this apology, first of all, to be made public. Exactly. And they were told to say, every time, NGOCC is a member organization. You didn't call us as members. So next time you do solidarity with anybody, inform us. And they were saying, no, in fact, we have stopped.
And in the same week, it emerged, you know, our lawyers went to court, retrieved documents from the office, the registrar's office, that demonstrated that the action by the speaker were illegal because the changes had not occurred at the, of office bearers for the Patriotic Front. Therefore, on what basis was our action? And the decision by the registrar of societies to respond to a court process and submit, you know, through subpoena, the document to court, and literally a constructive dismissal. Because the same day she was removed, you know, subjected to police processes, and she was removed from office. NGOCC were quiet.
Exactly.
If a woman had been treated and injured in the manner that the chief registrar had been treated, we expected NGOCC to rise to the defense the way they did to Madam Nelly Muti.
Exactly.
But they were tone silent, tone deaf,
and that's the problem that we have right now, because most of these people are job seekers. You know, they want to please the government so that they get into government and have all these jobs that they want. And for me also, that's the biggest problem that we have right now, because a long time ago, we would have these low numbers of women in parliament. We've always had low numbers as Zambians, you know. But we had a strong women's movement outside, and it always protected what was going on in parliament. I normally give an example myself to say, I remember the fight between Arabi and Stella Grillo, who was the NGOCC chairperson by then, over the anti-GBV Act. I have no idea why President Arabi didn't like it, you know. So he wanted, he never wanted the act, but the women's movement outside, they made sure it was enacted. And the president had to concede, you know. So in as much as the women MPs could have been defeated in parliament, the women's movement was there. And that's one thing that we've always loved about the women's movement in this country, you know. And that's even the reason why we convened. And by the way, following the presser that we had, we formed a group, we talk regularly, and even yesterday we had a meeting. So we're having some private meetings. Yes, exactly. So we are doing so much to...
That kind of grouping is arising because I think civil society is at its weakest.
Yes.
I think after elections of 2021, we've seen the entire civil society, either they are aligning themselves with government or they are just in a state of paralysis.
Yes.
And that's why we have to bemoan the low numbers of women in parliament. I think it's the lowest.
It's the lowest.
Since 1991.
Yes, it is, actually.
And President Hakainde Hichilema has not helped matters. Look at the number of ministers he has out of 26. I think he only has under 5 women as ministers. You know, he should have even used a hand of nomination.
Yes. That's
what should be done to strengthen civil society and then women participation in politics?
Well, what should be done amongst the things, stakeholders, you know, meeting like what we are doing right now, because we are saying what exactly should we do, you know, because civil society has been weakened and everything. And the sad part, Ambassador, is that just women participation, the African average is 25%, you know, 25%, and Zambia is at 12%.
Wow.
So meaning that we are so much below even the African percentage, you know. Southern African region, we should be second last or the very least in terms of women political participation. And yet when it comes to the ratification of conventions like CEDAW, we're amongst the first. You know, last time I even gave an example of Malawi and us. Only because Malawi signed CEDAW much later than us. Malawi would say, you know, for us, we are so cultural in terms of our practices. We're a polygamous nation. You know, they would go there and they say, because of this, we don't want to sign this women's rights convention. So they delayed. But Zambia there and then we ratified CEDAW without reservations for that matter. So meaning that all the articles of CEDAW, we are party to that. Then we come back home and we don't domesticate the convention first and foremost. And then a good part of what we domesticated using the Gender Equity and Equality Act, we still don't implement them, you know. So with that, you find that even some laws which are sufficient enough to help us as women in the country are not really being implemented. So civil society, we should be in the forefront of doing all those things, are not doing that. Because for them now, what they want is to go into office, you know. And the money which comes in for women political participation, a good part of it goes through Ministry of Finance, and they channel that to NGOCC, you know. So it's not just an NGO, it's an NGO that actually gets money for women political participation. So they need to do the right thing, you know. So no wonder as women now we're saying, you know what, enough is enough. If you, the people that get money on behalf of women political participation, are doing this, then I don't know what it is that we're going to achieve as women, you know. And having come from an NGO background myself, Ambassador, I know for a fact that when NGOs are implementing projects, they always say that real empowerment should come from the people, you know? So when you're doing a project, you have to engage the people and everything. But the funny thing, Ambassador, is that when it comes to women political participation, all projects have a
man at the top.
A top-bottom approach. You know? It's a thing whereby you don't really engage the women politicians, you know, and when money comes in, they say, we don't deal with political parties directly. And you're thinking, we've got candidates that are standing. How then do you not involve yourself directly with political parties? Because it's political parties that are the nominators of who stands. You get the point? So there's that disconnect.
I think there's a lot of patriarchal issues even in political parties.
Exactly.
Because, in fact, it starts from home. If the parties, political parties, could allow, for example, a third or half their members that are standing to be women, you'll have, you know, a lot of human resource in Parliament to work from. So I think the work should start with political parties.
It should,
political parties adopt very few women to stand. And you know, the environment of politics is extremely hostile. Speak to that.
Yes, and also...
why I'm saying that is you've been a victim of bullying, cyberbullying by the UPND. Because you are very strong, you are a very strong critic of President Hakainde Hichilema. Sometimes they come to your page, you know, and literally abuse you, and sometimes you've spoken about that. It may discourage a lot of other women from participating because they fear that they'll be, you know, they'll be abused, they'll be called names.
Exactly.
What advice can you give?
Well, the advice I can give is that, first of all, the women should be very strong. You know, the issue of patriarchy that you alluded to is very strong in this country, and we have to fight it tooth and nail, you know. So the cyberbullying that you see, especially against women politicians, that just reflects the kind of society that we come from. We see people being very comfortable insulting women. Just on the same women's group that I told you about, Mama Chikamoneka shared some voice notes just yesterday of these two young guys who are being used by the rebel PF, were insulting her. And we were all shocked to say, how do young people like this have the guts to insult a big person like this one? So if they can insult her, no one of us is safe. You get the point? On my page, I have to really block a good number of people on a daily basis, you know? So that, I think, for me, is very sad in a country which is already technologically savvy and able to detect these numbers. When somebody insults the president, for example, they'll fish them out within a day or two. But if it's another person, they won't really do that. There was a time when the Electoral Commission of Namibia and the Gender Commission of South Africa came through, and we were meeting up with them, with NGOCC, and a good number of MPs and everything. And I remember the people from Namibia were sharing to say, there's no cyberbullying of women in Namibia. You know, so we asked them to say, what really have you done? Yes, and they were like, the reason it's like that is that all SIM cards are registered. So if anybody insults on Facebook, they are found and they are prosecuted. And then I was like, wait a minute. Zambian SIM cards are registered as well. You get the point, So what they have used to stop cyberbullying in Namibia is already what we have in this country. So meaning that if the law enforcement agencies were interested enough in stopping cyberbullying, they would do that, you know. But because they are not, they only don't want cyberbullying against the president.
Only.
Yes, anybody else
They allow it.
They allow it, you know.
You called out and you called out to President Hakainde Hichilema to call his pressing us to put them to order.
Yes, exactly.
He's been very silent.
Yeah,
Does he approve it?
He certainly approves it. Because if he did not approve it, he wouldn't allow it. We've seen that these days, even just a simple action, the president has to say, oh, IG, do this, oh, this and that, do that. Why can't the IG just act on his own?
The two gentlemen you cited that were abusing Mama Chikamoneka, Mr. Grounds and the so-called Chama America, were very abusive to President Hakainde Hichilema.
Yes.
And to see the UPND who are working with our brother Mal Sampa, allow those two boys now just change and turn the guns against his opponents, and they are watching is totally unacceptable. I just saw some of the videos where they were insulting the entire Eastern Province, you know, issuing things that should not even be said on air, on radio.
Exactly.
And I hope that someone can report them to the police to test the law if we are really serious about, you know, hate speech and tribal talk.
Exactly.
We will begin to wind up. The state of the economy, I think, lastly, is what we should talk about and what you think should be the solutions, because it affects women most.
Yes.
You know, it's women that run our homes. They are with our children. And with the hostile environment of our economy, the impact must be extremely negative for especially the women and children.
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing wrong? Maybe to pele imewana marufo mena to feel.
Na mufilwa bad. Na mufilwa bad kind, you know. So really, if you look at the state of the economy, everything starts with the Republican president as a leader of the team. You know, as a leader, only as good as your team. Yeah. So he has put besides him or around him a very, very incompetent team. You know, so he's failing. And they are failing, and our economy is also failing. You know.
In fact, there's a statement that says a president is as good as his aides.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you look at the people that have surrounded him, really, you know, he's a person that wants to control everything and everybody, and you can't do that. So once you have people, every time when you're in a room and everybody you sit with, you're the only person that has to be listened to, then there's a problem there. You know. So the state of the economy right now, it's such a sad state of affairs. And like they say, in fact, Arabic used to use this word that, my numbers is yanam. Numbers don't lie, you know. So they can do whatever it is they want to do. They can lie, they can do their propaganda. But number one, we are seeing the exchange rates, you know.
Inflation rate.
Yes.
Then the prices of essential
commodities, you know. Just for you to go into a shop and buy one or two things. You know, I've been a victim of... or I don't know whether to call myself a victim or a culprit of telling the teacher to say, pendan one foot.
Yes,
you know, so I've done that twice. Twice in Choppies, and the other time I think I was at a Rwanda's shop.
Because you just get small things, little things, and it says 3-5.
You know, I was like, no. So in Choppies, I think I got about 5-6 items. It was like 1,500. I was like, no, can you count again? You know, they did that. Same thing was it. I was just at Rwanda's shop. I got very few things. 850. I was like, I'm banned for food. And all those times when we had to redo it, they were right and not me. So I just realized, you know, things are just too expensive. So no matter what they do, it's a person out there who goes to buy something who knows to say, things were like this just a few months ago. And this time they're like this. So the UPND has to be very serious in terms of how they are running the economy. And they need to be just very serious about it. There are simple issues like, let's say, the social sector and the economic sectors that they need to prioritize here and there. We have seen how they've messed up the agricultural sector. You know, from a so-called farmer, those are the things that he was promising, especially people in Eastern Province. That was the slogan. Then he comes in and he has the worst agricultural policies ever. By September, October, they were still cancelling procurement contracts. The delivery of seed and fertilizer is always late, and the sacks are fewer. You know, so you know, just looking at what happened, the mess which happened this year, you know that the mess will be the same as it was last year. And yet agriculture is a new god. Look at Zambia, where we are. A long time ago, we used to say that we were landlocked, and now we say we are land-linked. So the fact that we are in between all these other countries, we should take advantage of that. What is it that we can sell to all these other countries? You know, so all those things are not happening, you know. Mining. You know, God has really blessed us, you know. Sata used to say God is not making any more land, and he really isn't. We have so many minerals. We never even knew that we had switchlights. We didn't even know what switchlights was, you know. I remember a friend of mine had a mine in a northern province, and she's the one that started talking about switchlights. I had no idea what switchlights was. By the time now it's leaked and all those kind of about switchlights, so that mine you're talking about, this is what you meant, you get the point. So it's very, very shocking that we can have so many of these minerals, you know. Right now in Kalomo, Southern Province, there's lithium, which is being mined, and everything illegally. So they should prioritize the issues of, what is this, mining, agriculture, you know, we make money, and once you make money from these economic sectors, and then now you are able now to spend on the social sectors. Because social sectors, in as much as we need health and education, and we should prioritize them, because you need a healthy population, you need an educated population, you don't see results until after a long time. You know, investing in a child that has to grow up and leave school and everything. So you need to make money to ensure that money is being invested in building schools, in making a desk, in you know, buying books and everything. So the UPND is doing things the other way around, you know, whereby their priorities are all over the place, you know. So that is why we're having all these problems, because we have a government that is not really sitting down and prioritizing what should we do first before we do this B. And with that, trust me, things will keep on going badly the way they are going. And lastly, also, they don't want to listen. Because there are many people in this country that are experts, you know. I always give an example.
What are your hopes for 2024?
2024, I hope that the government will listen more, you know. Ambassador, not because you're here, I always give an example of you, of how a lot of your articles have actually made these guys reverse a good number of things. You get the point. Even when it came to appointment, just when they formed government and everything, because they fired too many experts. They come in and they want to fire everybody, and they bring in new people, so that what is this, institutional memory and lost. Everything is really lost, and now they don't know what to do. So my hopes for 2024 is to see the UPND take a different approach. We are not enemies, you know. We just have different political parties, ideologies, and aspirations for this country. All of us, we make our constitutions and our manifestos based on what we want to see different and better for our country. Yes. So the process by which we have these differences and aspirations to do better for our country should not make us enemies. If your approach is better, well and good, the people vote for you and you be in charge and everything. And even when we're in charge, we can still come in and say, okay, even when it comes to this, why don't you do A, B, C, D? That should just be the process. So I hope there'll be better politics, because for me, I feel that the UPND is failing with the economy because they're failing with the politics. You can't manage the economy alone. You have to involve others, be it your team, be it other political parties and everything. And once they do that, then things will definitely be better for all of us.
Thank you very much. A friend of mine said, Saboi Imboela. So, Mr. President, thank you for your courage. The nation does recognize, I'm calling you Mr. President, because my friend said, Saboi Imboela, Saboi. Because you have men that can speak out. They're afraid to say, and you've staked literally your life, you know, for the service of this country. So thank you very much for joining us on the conversation. And to our dear viewers, thank you very much for joining us on the Conversation podcast. Join us next time with another guest or another set of people to have this conversation. A good day, and God bless you. God bless this country.